The Arizona Cardinals and Kyler Murray have recently got themselves into a little bit of a situation. Now, it's all pretty interesting and not that important because I don't think anything's going to be done. And before I make my statement that I'm about to make, and probably the reason you're watching this video because you saw the title, I'd like to say that I'm a pretty big Kyler Murray fan. I was not a fan of him at first, and I was not a fan of him at Oklahoma, but watching him play in Arizona, I've been rooting for him just because I like the mobile quarterbacks, and I've really grown to like watching him play, and have enjoyed watching him play over his first couple years in the NFL. But he should do everything that he can to demand a trade and get away from Arizona. And the reason for that is the Cardinals went out and they pretty much blamed him for the little drama that they had. It wasn't that long, it wasn't that big of a deal. But when your organization starts pointing fingers at your quarterback and blaming him for losses, that's when you know of a problem, and that's when you start to get at a point where it may not be fixable. This isn't one of those things where the media brought something into existence. This isn't one of those things where it got talked about on sports shows and sports radio for a week until something finally happened and a team had to make a press statement about it. Teams had to have press conferences. Players had to post something on social media. This is all because Kyler Murray decided to delete all the Cardinals pictures from Instagram, and he went out of his way to be childish. And in response, the Cardinals blamed him and called him childish, and they pretty much blamed him for some of their losses and the disappointing way the season ended after having such a great start. Beginning of the season, this team was amazing. Everyone thought they were going to go to the Super Bowl. I was including them. I was rooting for them. And because I thought they were a good team. I liked DeAndre Hopkins. I thought Kyler was playing really good. I was growing to like Kyler. And they didn't. And for whatever reason, you can blame it on many things, blame it on whoever. And it's definitely not fair to blame it fully on Kyler. And I'm definitely not doing it. But the way this offseason has gone and what the Cardinals have said, and I know what Kyler Murray said as well, his comments and the statement his agent released a couple days ago saying that he wants to be the franchise quarterback and wants to go to Super Bowls. But by having your organization come out and blame you and call you childish and all this other things, you're at the point where you screwed up. They screwed up. This is not gonna work out anymore. They're at the point where you gotta demand a trade, you gotta get out of there because you're at the point where it's just not gonna work out anymore. Every time you win a game, it's not going to feel the same because you're not going to have the same respect. Every time you lose a game, you're just going to point fingers. It's going to go back to the organization pointing on you, and then something goes wrong during the season. That's when we're going to get the media involved, and it's just going to over exaggerate it as it always happens in sports, and that's the way it seems to be going. Like I said, I'm a fan of Kyler Murray, and I would if he goes somewhere else, which although I don't think is going to happen, that's what I'm saying should happen. I'm gonna root for him, but the Cardinals, they're in an interesting situation. The Rams just won a Super Bowl; they're your divisional rival. The Seahawks, another divisional rival, they're kind of setting things aside, planning for their future. They're not really a threat right now. And the San Francisco 49ers they're where the Cardinals were a couple years ago. They've got a good team, and they're about to be setting out a new quarterback to try to compete with them. Arizona's got to be taking this as an opportunity. You saw what the Rams did; they pushed everything in the center, threw all their chips in, and went out and won a championship. But now LA is going to get older. All the players are aging, so they might lose some guys to free agency. One of their better receivers, OBJ, had an injury. Who knows how that's going to go? And it's going to be Arizona's chance to take the division. But they got to do whatever they can to fix this relationship with Kyler Murray because the way it's going is they might be screwing themselves out of a once in a generation quarterback right here. Because Kyler Murray's been great so far. He's on his way to winning MVPs. He's was really good this season. He's a great athlete. We all know he got drafted into the MLB, and that's for a reason because he's a really good athlete and can do lots of things. And he's a really good quarterback for them. But they're at the point, and it's like a marriage between two people where if something happens and one of the persons in the marriage cheats on them and you try to save it, it's just not the same. When things go well, they're not as good as they were, and when things go bad, the arguments are much longer and cause much more damage to the overall relationship. And that's where these two are at. Whenever this team loses a game in the future, it's going to be pointed at Kyler Murray because of all the attention that he caused now. Its fingers are going to get pointed towards him because he's wanting more money and whatever, and because the ownership group and the front office and whoever, the team in general, it's the team, they pointed to Kyler Murray and said he was the reason for this. That's how it's going to be. Everyone's going to point the finger to Kyler Murray, and it's going to be unfair to him. And so when they win, it's going to be the same way. It's just not going to be as good as it was when they started 8-0 or 9-0, whatever it was to start the season. It's just going to be different, and it's going to show that it's just not going to work out for them anymore. So if I'm Kyler Murray, I'm going to go to the front office, I'm going to go to my agent, and I'm going to say, I want to be traded. think the earlier they make this decision, it's the best because it allows them to maybe not go into a full rebuild. Maybe you can do a Kyler Murray, Deshaun Watson swap. I don't really want to get full into the trades, but I know there's a ton of teams that'd be interested in Kyler Murray, and I'm sure the Cardinals will get really good compensation if they were to trade Kyler Murray. But it's the faster this trade happens, the faster it saves both of them because things just won't be the same after what's gone down this offseason. And it's one of those situations where you can't really get better from this. It's only going to go worse. It's only going to negatively affect the team when things go bad and you lose a game or you drop a game you shouldn't have, something like that. You lose to a divisional opponent in a home game, something like that. It's going to be just the effect of that game. Something that's normal is going to be much worse because of what has happened this offseason, and that's why I think Kyler should request a trade. If I'm the Cardinals, I'm trying to fix everything, but I think if you're the Cardinals, you got to smarten up and realize that they messed up by saying what they said, and once you say something like that, you can't take back what you said. Kyler's gonna know it, and everyone in the media is gonna know it. And as we know, getting the media involved in things that doesn't always go well. So if I'm the Cardinals, if I'm Kyler Murray, I'm working out a trade. I don't want to see it, but I think it's going to end up being the best for the both too if it comes to this.